Hey there, and welcome back to Limitless Inner Wisdom with Brittany Wiley. I want to talk today about self-love and how seeing God with fresh eyes can help us practice it in a deeper and more meaningful way. Lately, God has really been driving this point home for me, helping me see that self-love isn't just about taking time for yourself or treating yourself to something nice. Those things are good and important, but they only scratch the surface. For me, true self-love has meant going deeper into understanding who I am, what fulfills me, what I need and desire, and what doesn't work for me. It also meant doing a lot more allowing my life story to unfold without forcing outcomes I thought were best. So much of my self-criticism has come from feeling like I needed to make life go a certain way, insisting on what I thought was the right path. But life has unfolded in so many unexpected ways. And I'm starting to see that this is actually how life works. I used to want everything packaged and tied up neatly. I believed the cultural script, the idea that if we just follow the formula, we'll get the outcome we're supposed to. But this kind of thinking puts our minds in a box. It programs us to believe in limitations that were never real to begin with. There is no formula. No one-size-fits-all blueprint. Our personal blueprint is being revealed to us as we go, and the key to navigating it is trust. Trusting the unfolding, trusting the process, and most importantly, trusting God within. Every person and every story is unique. Even if there are similarities, no two lives are exactly the same. But the one thing we all have in common is that we're learning and evolving. That evolution looks different for each of us, and every story is valid. Understanding this paves the way for self-love that feels more expansive and real. This is where self-love really comes in. Not just appreciating your unique story, but fully integrating it as it unfolds. Loving and accepting all of who you are, who you've been, who you're becoming, and who you already are at your core. Integration is a powerful act of self-love. And we can only really integrate when we've experienced unconditional love. Without that kind of love, everything feels hollow. We can stay stuck in patterns of suffering, perfectionism creeps in, and nothing ever feels good enough. But unconditional love changes that. It helps us learn the lessons life is teaching us. It helps us trust that we're being led to our highest potential, and it frees us from the burdens of unforgiveness and self-doubt. Unconditional love helps us see ourselves more fully, not just through the lens of our struggles, but also through the lens of our strengths. We're usually quick to spot what we think is wrong with us, but unconditional love reminds us that we are so much more than a collection of flaws or missteps. It helps us recognize what's working, our gifts, our growth, the wisdom we've gained, and gives us the courage to lead with those strengths while still tending gently to the parts that need healing. It allows us to show up in our full authenticity, not trying to fit into someone else's mold, but embracing who we are at our core. When we live from this place, even our weaknesses become part of something beautiful, a fuller, more integrated self that reflects the wholeness of God within us. It's much easier to forgive yourself and others when you see life through a bigger lens. We're all learning. We all have things to grow through. That doesn't mean you have to agree with or condone harmful behavior, yours or anyone else's. It means you can allow space for growth. With this mindset, we stop throwing ourselves or others away because of mistakes or missteps. Instead, we learn, we integrate, we become more compassionate and more grounded in who we really are. Bit by bit, moment by moment, we start creating from a more authentic space. Unconditional love holds space for this. It says, no matter what you've gone through, you are loved, you are accepted, and you're seen for who you really are. You're not just your story. You're a spiritual being on a human journey, and that journey takes time. Unconditional love is God's love, the real kind. It's the love Jesus spoke of when he said the greatest commandment was to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. But somewhere along the way, we got that second part backward. Many of us were taught to treat others better than we treat ourselves. It's often easier to show grace to someone else than to show it to ourselves. But unconditional love for both ourselves and others makes room for grace, patience, and growth. It allows for constructive feedback, but without the weight of shame. It doesn't ask you to prove you're worthy. It doesn't measure you against a checklist. It's consistent, it's steady, it holds everything together. But all of this only started making sense when I saw God differently. To truly experience this kind of love, we have to remember that God is not separate from us. God is within and all around us. Acts 17:28 says, "In him we live, move, and have our being." You are never disconnected. It is impossible for you to exist apart from God. But many of us may not have grown up seeing God this way. Maybe we were taught to think of God as distant, judgmental, or always watching with a critical eye. That kind of view makes self-love feel like something we have to earn. It turns our spiritual life into a performance, where we're constantly trying to be good enough instead of realizing we were never separate to begin with. When you start to see God not as far off, but as the presence within you, steady, compassionate, and wise, it changes everything. You no longer have to strive for worthiness. You begin to see that your inner wisdom isn't something separate from God. It's how God speaks to you, how love moves through you. And that love doesn't demand perfection. It invites connection. And when you know that, not just believe it, but know it, it fuels your ability to trust the inner guidance you've been given. That God-given GPS, that's your inner wisdom. When you strip away the noise of conditioning and programming, what's left is your core self. It functions intuitively. That's your inner wisdom in action. It's so natural, we sometimes forget how powerful it really is. And while this love is deeply nourishing and freeing, it's not passive. Unconditional love doesn't mean losing yourself or abandoning discernment in the name of acceptance. It means staying grounded in what's true for you while still honoring the sacred process of growth for yourself and others. It means love that strengthens, not love that depletes. As this kind of love becomes more familiar to you, and as you start to follow these inner nudges from God within you, you naturally start choosing what supports your well-being. You begin noticing what feels good and true for you and what doesn't. That awareness helps you make choices that feel more aligned with who you are. When you relate to yourself from this kind of steady, accepting place, it naturally spills into your relationships. You become more patient, not because you're ignoring problems or trying to be overly tolerant, but because you're not constantly reacting from your own unhealed stuff. Parenting is one place I've noticed this most. Even when I don't get everything right, I've learned that showing myself compassion helps me respond to my child with more presence and less pressure. And that's not just with kids. It applies to all relationships. You can still address what needs to be addressed, but you're not trying to control or correct every little thing. Some things you can let go. Other things you can approach with more maturity and steadiness. That shift alone creates so much more peace. Just to be clear, unconditional love doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean letting people treat you however they want. It means you care about yourself enough to say, that doesn't work for me, and to actually stand by it. Honoring your worth doesn't have to be loud or harsh. It can be quiet and steady, like saying no without guilt, or stepping away from something that drains you. It's really about paying attention to what supports you and being willing to respond to that. This kind of love isn't flaky or conditional. It's consistent. It sticks with you through the ups and downs. And no matter what's going on, it reminds you you are already worthy. There's nothing you have to earn, nothing you could do to lose that love. Something I've noticed, and maybe you felt this too, is that the more I practice real self-love, the more creative and energized I feel. Not because I'm trying to be productive in a forced way, but because I'm no longer wasting energy trying to be something I'm not. When you stop trying to squeeze yourself into a mold and start embracing how you're actually wired, it frees up space. Space to create, space to contribute, and space to show up more fully. You're starting to express yourself more honestly, whether that's through words, your work, or the way you connect with people. That kind of self-expression flows naturally when you're not performing or editing yourself to fit someone else's version of who you should be. You're just being you. And that's where your true creative spark lives. I'm going to pause here for now. In the next video, I'll be sharing my personal aspect map. It's something one of my sisters inspired me to create, and it helped me see how different aspects of my personality show up when I'm triggered in a certain way. It's been a powerful way for me to integrate the shadow and light in myself, to love even the parts of me that show up in pain, without letting these parts define me, because I'm beyond a singular definition, and so are you. We get to choose how we see and treat ourselves. Let's keep exploring and learning together. I love this work, and I'm so glad you're here. If you'd like more talks like this, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new one. And leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. What does self-love look like to you? How do you see and relate to God? Has your view changed over time? Let me know if you have any questions. The Limitless Inner Wisdom email and social links are in the description below. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye for now.